Hello folks, welcome back to Gelvin Valley. Wonderful map made by Wild Wes here in Farming Sim 15. We're starting out right where we hang our undies, kind of by the front door or back door of our house, whatever it is. We spend so little time here. We're going to cycle out to our equipment, kind of as we do, and continue the task that we've been doing in here. I believe we had, yes we did, have this set up for, you can hear the roar of the machinery, set up for GPS, and maybe back it up a little bit and get her going, and continue on where we left off, doing the all-important work of fertilizing our crops. Trying to remember kind of where we were. I think we're, field 22. I think that leaves field number 18 possibly left. I almost think we've done every other spot. This time we started kind of on the other side of the valley. Done every other spot, so we're kind of going through the last ones. So we'll get this licked. Whoop. I can't even drive straight. Get all this taken care of. You know, I know the past couple of episodes I've spent a lot of time on our trip to Arizona and visiting about a departed friend. And I think I mentioned in the last one that I had received some gifts from Mrs. Atomic that I have with me at my office. And I say gifts, I feel more like just a caretaker for them, like they hardly belong to me. I'm just so honored that I get to have them there. But I do have some things that I got from my office, and one was a stand to put the hat on that she gave me, and the other, I got a couple books on Route 66, which is a topic he was interested in, to kind of put by some of the other tin types that are on the wall and his license plate for his car. And, you know, I gotta say, I'm no decorator, but I'm kind of pleased with how this is all looking in my office. So thanks again, Mrs. Atomic, for providing these. I really appreciate it. It's actually dressed up my office way more than it ever would be otherwise. So really appreciate that. You know what? I think I took a wrong turn. Maybe. No, I'm good. We'll just head down over the hill, kind of. I no longer own that little field over there. That is under someone else's purview. We sold it, you may recall, so we could pick up this larger field, which was inexplicably priced low for its relative size. And frankly, I'm looking forward to getting a crop in it, and because I think we can earn quite a pretty penny off of that particular field once we get her harvested. I guess I should have driven the other way. I'm doing a lot of backtracking here just to get into the field. As I try to remember here we go. I think it's down in here. Yeah, this is reminding me of the episode that I made where we saw what happened when it rained, and there's a stream up here that kind of shows up. So maybe similar to the other fields, I'll just take a trip kind of around the outer edge, and we'll go as far as we can before having to restock. This is kind of our last field before we hopefully anticipate another harvest. So we'll get all this fertilizer boot heeled into the ground, and I don't know if we have we got clouds coming. Doesn't look like we have any rain coming. Is that another entrance to this field? Oh, that is another entrance. I could have come in there. Oh, good to know. I haven't noticed that till just now. You know, it's commonly said a lot of times that a guy can explore on a number of these maps and A lot of times the modders have lots more things in there than you'd ever imagine if you just take the time to look around. And that was one of them. I hadn't noticed it till now that we had another way to access the field. For some reason, I still feel like there should be an access point kind of in the corner, but there isn't. So there won't be. Well, I'm recording this kind of right on the cusp of a holiday that we have in the U.S. called Thanksgiving. It's just before. Thanksgiving would be tomorrow. And I don't know how many places. There is a friend of mine that watches these videos and he tries to help me with stuff like this. He's from New Zealand, and I think he's told me they don't have that holiday, or at least not the time we have it. I think Canada has a version of Thanksgiving, but it's at a different time of year. And I don't know if there's an equivalent in other places or not, but I certainly do have a ton to be thankful for, and I think I spend a good deal of time in here sharing what many of those things are. And I'm not going to sit here and just list all those things out. I know it's probably something any one of us, as we sit and reflect, could do, and it would look similar in many ways and different in many other ways as we take, we are done. If we would take stock of what we have going on in our life. Let me go pick this up. Where was this left? Oh boy. I think I am a long ways away. Let me just head on down the hill. Probably shouldn't do this in a planted field. But since it's of no consequence, we'll just zip on out of here. Head out on the open road. If I can turn my indicators on, I'll try to stay on the left side of the... Whoa, I almost ended up in a ditch. That was so close. These ditches in here are treacherous. Speaking of those, I should talk to Wes sometime and ask him how he did it. Anybody that's messed around with the map editor in here knows how challenging it can be to raise and lower ground, and to take just a little bit out at a time and make those ditches with changing terrain. That is no small feat. It'd be one thing if you were on a flat. And then you could, I'm going to drive right through you, buddy, if you don't get moving. There you go. It'd be one thing to do it if it was just on the flat, because then you could set it in the editor at a certain height, and it'd be pretty easy to buzz out a ditch or some other depression in the ground. But in here, there isn't any area that is flat, at least not for long, and so in order to carve out a ditch, you'd have to be constantly adjusting it, and somehow Wild Wes figured out a way to do it. Pretty clever guy. I still wonder if he used a dem map to make all these areas here in the map, all the terrain for the height and valley and everything, but he's not around, so I'm just going to have to enjoy it and not worry about it, I think. For the moment, let's refill our tractor and fertilizer spreader. Actually, turn this thing off. We left our other tractor on. I don't know why it thinks it's backing up when it tries to fill this thing. That's kind of bizarre. Must be some anomaly. We'll continue on our merry way here. Fertilize the crops. So anyways, I was talking about Thanksgiving, and the intent, of course, I think where it started was, to practice thankfulness, gratitude, and probably any of us, I don't care who you are, the most hardened person on the planet, someone who says they don't care. You know, if we do a would you rather question, would you rather be around someone who's a thankful person or someone who isn't? You know, everybody knows that guy that has a lot of stuff handed to him and just never thinks to say thank you. Simple stuff like that, or I don't know. Who am I? I don't mean to preach at anybody in here. I just think it's a better way to live if we try to be thankful for the things that we have versus being ungrateful. And I just think life goes better if we cultivate that kind of an attitude. But it's hard to sometimes, and you know, oftentimes we're admonished by how people in and I don't know who comes up with these terms. You know, they say the nation I live in is what a first world nation versus third world. I don't know who comes up with those terms. Those seem kind of demeaning, but probably just a reflection on the wealth that we have versus some other areas of the world. And sometimes people who travel to these other places are amazed at how thankful, how happy, how whatever you want to call it, a lot of these people are in other nations when they have so little. And here we sit with so much, and we figure out new ways to complain all the time. And right, a lot of these people would wonder what our problem is that we would choose to do that when we have so much. But anyway, like I say, I'm not going to preach at anybody. Just would encourage all of us to be thankful, count our blessings. And so my usually this time of year, I mean, kind of as a tradition would go for most of the nation, I would say, you know, we get a couple days off, we gather with family and have a really big meal. And I'm sure most of the world probably thinks Americans already have too big a meals as it is, and you know what, I wouldn't disagree, but it's enjoying those blessings that we have, having a meal together. And I don't know how it is for anybody else, but I know, being a family man, some of the best times that I have with my family is when we're eating, you know, just at the dinner table and talking about our day and catching up. And that's where some of the best conversation happens. And it was that way when I was growing up at home. It's that way now, you know, trying to be a dad and to know how to do the best I can for my family. It seems like, I mean, that the dinner table is precious to me as it is. So this time of year, to be able to spend time with family and friends, you know, over Thanksgiving, it's a tradition to many of us. And if you ask anybody, you know, from here, they got all sorts of different traditions as to what they do. I think there's a lot of football that happens on days like the Thanksgiving. That isn't my thing. And by football, I'm not meaning soccer. I know that the world thinks we get that wrong by calling football something where we would pick up the ball and throw it in addition to kicking it periodically. But what can I say? That's just what we call it here. But for us, nope, it's generally get together with family, and I don't know how this started in the nation. I mean, they tell us various things in school from history, and sometimes I really don't even know if it's correct. Well, you know, the original people that came and they had turkey and this, that, and the other, so that's a common food that we have on Thanksgiving. I think last year at this time I did an episode kind of on Thanksgiving in my Hobo's Hollow map that I had with my good friend Atomic 67, and I think I even plugged a bunch of turkeys in that map with all their gobbling, but I won't do that to anybody in here. So my I have 4 children. 2 girls came first, and then 2 boys. One's married, one lives away from home, and the 2 boys still live at home. And the boys decided they wanted to go see their next older sister, the one that lives in Kansas. She and her husband live there. And so they got plane tickets and they have flown the coop. So it kind of gives my wife and I just a little inkling of what it would feel like to be empty nesters. And my oldest son is in college right now. He's working on his second year. My youngest son is still in high school. He's also working on a second year. They're both sophomores. So yeah, it's just changing times with the family. And so tomorrow for my wife and I celebration of Thanksgiving, it'll be a little bit different, I guess, than normal. After I get done telling everybody, well, the tradition is, you get together with family, and we'll still get together with some family. We've chosen this year kind of not to go to the big family gathering. Both she and I come from very large families, and so we tend to have very large family gatherings for holidays, and we've decided to skip that this year, and we're going to have some people into our home that we don't get to see very often and that don't have as much family as some of us do. And we're going to just try things a little bit quieter than we typically do. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Plus, even as I get done telling you that the tradition here is to have turkey and mashed potatoes and yams and those kinds of things on Thanksgiving, we're going to do something totally different. And I'm pretty sure I've had an episode in the past sharing about cooking and what have you. That's the other kind of modding I like to do. If you can call it modding, is work in the kitchen and do recipes. I don't know why I enjoy it so much. I mean, I think it harkens back to when I was a kid, particularly with some baking. My mom had 5 boys before she had any girls. Not that should make any difference, when it comes to the kitchen, but the fact of the matter is she needed a lot of help in there. So if we wanted to have stuff like lunches, when we went to school, we made them ourselves. And anytime you make lunches and have to populate it with sandwiches and cookies and all sorts of things, you got to make all that yourself. So we made thousands of cookies when I was a kid, and I still enjoy making cookies to this day. And so that's one part of the kitchen I enjoy. And then the other part that we'll be having tomorrow with Thanksgiving coming is Chinese food. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that also in here before, kind of how it happened. I mean, up until a few years ago, I'd never made any Chinese food on my own. I mean, it's, you can buy these boxes or kits of stuff at the store, and they put various spices in it or whatever. But it's not the same to get it in a box versus going to a restaurant and kind of seeing how the professional would do it. And we had a really nice Chinese food place in town here. And unfortunately, a number of years ago, the guy up and died on me, the cad. And so his family, the fellow that died, he was the only one skilled in the kitchen to do the meal prep and everything. I think the family tried a little bit to do it in his absence, but they just couldn't, or didn't want to do the work. I mean, shoot. I mean, let's be real. Restauranting is very hard work, no matter how you cut it. And this guy was pretty successful, keeping his restaurant open for, was it like 40 years, something like that? So he really knew what he was doing to be able to do that. So, but when he passed, where did I end up? Oh yeah, up there. There, can you pull this hill? Yeah, you're gonna be. Let's see if you can pull this. You can just get a picture of how steep it is in here when you go in cab even. Just a magnificent view. Love it. But when he passed, I thought about that for a while. It's like, you know what? We've never tried it at home for real. Occasionally we've got the kit approach or the box that had kind of a mixture, or, we've periodically made rice and put soy sauce in it or whatever we would do. But we never tried to actually, let me turn it off, make it from scratch in our home. So, went to the almighty internet, which has everything on it, There's that beeping again. I'm not backing up. Anyway, and so we got several recipes. I just started cooking it at home, and boy, we've been doing it for several years now, and it's just every time we do it, it almost always turns out. And I'm not saying that to brag. I've just I've just learned that if you follow the recipe and do what it says, most of the times it's going to turn out the way they say it's supposed to turn out. I think my wife still thinks I'm a little nutty for following the recipe like that. I guess men aren't supposed to ask for directions or whatever, but I have no choice. I don't know what I'm doing in that kitchen, so I kind of have to read the directions and do it the way they say. But it's usually always, it's kind of an all-hands-on-deck family event whenever we do it. Because it's a lot of work prepping, whether chopping the vegetables, or various steps that we need to do to make it, or making the sauces, and all these various ingredients to put in there. And when I say it's from scratch, I mean it. We make orange chicken. We are literally taking parts of the orange peel itself and chopping it up in tiny pieces, or zesting it as it's called, so we can get that orange flavor that's in there. And some of it is, as I'm sure everybody knows, requires deep fat frying. Some of it's done in a wok. So just all sorts of things that we've done. And so usually prep takes a fair bit of time. Usually all we've been able to manage, I think, at any given time is maybe 4, maybe 5 recipes. 5 if we're really ambitious. And it's just hats off to the restaurateurs that do this day in and day out. I have no idea how they do it, and all I can say is they must be preparing since the early morning hours, chopping the vegetables. It really doesn't take long. It really doesn't take long to cook, once you get to that point. But you have to have everything ready before you do it. All the sauces made, everything chopped, and kind of measured out in the appropriate quantities. And then when you get cooking, you got to pay attention and do it quickly, because a good dish and a bad dish, sometimes the difference between those two is seconds. If you overcook something or undercook it, it makes a huge difference in the end result. So we've just been practicing this now for several years and have really enjoyed it. So we're going to do something a little bit different. I think this Thanksgiving, when we have some friends over, we'll do just a couple recipes. We'll try to make it easy. I think we're trying recipes we've done before. So, there's comfort in having done them before. There for a while in the past, as we were learning how to do it, every single time we would pick, 4 new recipes, and it could be pretty hectic in the kitchen trying to figure it out kind of on the fly, as you're trying to read all the instructions on these recipes printed off the internet. So I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. And actually, speaking of Chinese food, recently our church had a benefit auction. There's a hospital that we support down in Haiti, both in terms of having personnel that work there and some missionaries, and boots on the ground helping, and then also monetarily, to pay the salaries of some of the doctors and nurses that work there to take care of a lot of Haitians that live kind of in the mountainous region. And so they had this benefit auction, and I don't know how many years they've had it, but I know a year ago, and they just had it here maybe a month ago now. So a month and a year ago, we heard about this auction. It was the first time I remember hearing about it, and there was some in our local congregation who put on a meal kind of as part of the silent auction, and they auctioned off the meal. And I think last year I heard, we have there's a Hispanic woman at our church that is an outstanding cook, and she She prepared a traditional Mexican meal. I'm trying to remember what I went for last year. It's all for charity, so people are bidding this up. I think it was over $10,000. I mean, just a lot of money, that went for a good cause, to help out these people. So someone suggested last year, hey, maybe you ought to do that with a Chinese food meal. So my wife and I, we talked about it, and we decided that's what we would do. And so this year we participated in it, and ours didn't go for 10,000. Well, you know what? I put way too much fertilizer in there, but I seem to recall that when I turn this back in, it will pay me back. It doesn't force me to lose all of that. So anyway, this year it was auctioned off, and now we're in the process of trying to plan an evening. There was a group of couples. We said we would do it for 12 people, which is the limit that our dining room table can hold. And there was a group of 6 couples from our church who bid on it and got it. And so now we're kind of in the process of planning when that'll be. Probably it'll be after the turn of the year. And they're paying a lot of money for this, and I know my wife was telling me she feels a little stressed out about that. They pay all this good money for, what I would call some marginal quality food to begin with, and marginal quality Chinese food, if you will. I mean, we like it, we think it's good, but I don't know what their expectations are, what have you. So, and anytime, you have somebody over, you gotta worry about food allergies of other people and what have you. So we'll try to get all that figured out and figure out a menu, and it's probably going to be something a little extra special, if you will, because they paid so much. So, I've been trying to learn various parts of, the cooking process with Chinese food for some time. Return. Did it give me any money back? Fiddle. Who knows if it did. I'm 12 in the hole. Now, let me see here. Is there anything I need to haul from... What all do I have? This is probably a good time to pause. Alright. I have a couple tractors. I do have that trailer. I got some stuff I'm not even using. Repairs, got a combine. Oh, yeah, that reminds me. I think I rented even the header that I put on my combine. Oh, doggone it, that means I gotta come all the way back up here to get it. Phooey. That's probably the next thing that's gonna happen is harvest. Now that we have fertilized everything, let me just head on back to the main farm, turn on my indicators, and we will head to the farm. Actually, do I go up this way? There we go. We'll go up this way. So here a day or two ago, I sent out an email to everybody, these 6 couples, to try to start planning. And I gotta do something different. And this was my own mistake. I sent out this email, and I basically said, let's nail down a time for it that works for everybody. It's hard to set up a time with 6 busy couples. So I said, suggest some dates. And I have received no emails back. So I think I made a blooper there, and I think what I need to do instead is I should pick a date, and I'm just going to keep picking one or suggesting it until all 6 couples are able to come to it. And I've kind of learned that sometimes managing people, you can't leave it up to them. It's almost like you need to draw a picture for them, and oh, wait a minute. Oh, don't tell me. Oh, this is what happens when I get to talking, and I think I'm done, and I'm not. Oh, what a... Ah. Here we go, folks. My good friend Eustace Farmer told me don't drive the whole time when I'm having an episode. Unfortunately, you get to see me drive on this one. I'm heading back to the store to go pick up the silly fertilizer spreader that I shouldn't have turned back. And now I'm going to fill the silly thing again. And I lost everything I put in it. Okay, well, I've often said I can't walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. I guess this is more evidence. And there went the timer anyhow. And here, as I sit here and talk about other people that won't answer my email for a meal they prepared for, I can't even get it straight in this game here with a stupid fertilizer spreader. I guess we're all hopeless. But anyway, I'll hopefully get a date on the calendar and then work on the menu. To me, that's going to be the fun part. And it seems like most people I've ever talked to enjoy Chinese food in some fashion. And if you're listening to this and you like Chinese food, what's your favorite dish? Do you have a particular favorite? And if so, what is it? Let me go in here. I want to rent. Maybe... Oh. Can I do it in an hour? Maybe I can do it in an hour. But let me know in the comments if you have a favorite Chinese food dish, and I'll hopefully report back eventually when we have this meal what we fed our guests and what we prepared for them. But in the meantime, hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next one. But goodbye for now.